Picture this. You're trekking through the thick forests of the Pacific Northwest. The towering trees stretch higher than you've ever seen before. The air is thick with mist, and the only sound you hear is the crunch of your boots against the damp earth. Suddenly, a strange noise cuts through the silence. It's a deep, primal growl, unlike any animal you know. Your heart skips a beat. Is it a bear? A cougar? Or could it be something far more mysterious? A creature that has haunted these forests for centuries? The Yeti. But what if I told you that this isn't the Yeti of the Himalayas you've heard of? No, this creature might be much closer, hiding in the dense, foggy woods of the Pacific Northwest. Stay with me as we explore the stories, the evidence, and the baffling mystery of the Yeti in North America, hidden in plain sight, just waiting for the right person to find it. And before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, and when we hit that milestone, I'll be releasing even more mind-blowing content about the world's most mysterious creatures and legends. Now, let's get into the heart of this story. What is the Pacific Northwest Yeti? The Pacific Northwest is a land like no other, wild, untamed, and filled with secrets. It's an area that stretches from Northern California all the way up to British Columbia, Canada, and it's filled with ancient forests, deep valleys, rugged mountains, and endless coastline. Known for its heavy rain, thick fog, and towering trees, it's the perfect setting for an age-old mystery to thrive. While most people think of the Yeti as an icy creature of the Himalayas, the Pacific Northwest has its own version, a creature that has been lurking in the shadows for centuries, only seen by a select few, and often only in fleeting glimpses. The dense forests of this region provide the perfect cover for such a creature to remain hidden from human eyes. Imagine being in this massive, primeval forest, surrounded by nature's beauty, but also by its many dangers. As you hike through this wilderness, you could be only a few feet away from a creature that no one can truly explain. And yet, the Yeti of the Pacific Northwest may be more than just a shadow in the woods. It could be a very real creature that has managed to elude modern science and human civilization for hundreds of years. But why hasn't anyone been able to capture definitive proof of its existence? Is it simply folklore? Or is there something deeper, something truly unexplained happening right in front of us? The first known recorded sightings of a creature resembling the Yeti in the Pacific Northwest date back to the late 1800s, though indigenous peoples have spoken of large, ape-like creatures in the area for centuries. In the late 1800s, explorers in Oregon reported strange, gigantic footprints they discovered in the snow. These prints were massive, around 18 inches long, and deeply embedded in the earth, suggesting a creature of immense size. At first, they thought these tracks might have been made by a bear or some other large animal, but there was something odd about them. The shape was human-like, with a distinct arch and a pattern that looked far too deliberate to be from a bear. No known animal in the region had such large human-like feet. The footprints seemed to belong to a creature that walked upright, much like humans, but far larger and more powerful. As the years went on, more and more strange encounters were reported. Campers, hikers, and explorers in the region began to share stories of seeing massive creatures moving silently through the trees. Tall, broad-shouldered, and covered in dark, matted fur. These creatures were said to stand over 8 feet tall, walking on 2 legs and leaving behind massive footprints in their wake. Locals often spoke in hushed tones about the ape man of the Cascades or the forest giants, names that would eventually be tied to the more familiar concept of Bigfoot or the Yeti. It wasn't just the sightings that intrigued people. People also reported hearing eerie howls, deep, guttural sounds that didn't belong to any known animal. These howls were described as being more animalistic than anything human, but at the same time, they seemed to communicate something intelligent, as if the creature was calling to another. Were these the calls of the Yeti, or something even stranger, something beyond human comprehension? One of the most eerie aspects of the Yeti sightings in the Pacific Northwest is the strange, haunting howls that people report hearing. These aren't the typical sounds of wolves or bears. They are far deeper, more primal. The vocalizations have been described as a mix between a howl and a growl, often reverberating through the woods at night. In one famous case, two researchers, Ron Moorhead and Al Berry, captured a series of recordings known as the Sierra Sounds in the 1970s. The recordings came from the remote Sierra Nevada mountains in California, just south of Oregon. What's fascinating about these recordings is that the sounds appeared to be not random noises, but intelligent vocalizations, almost as if the creatures were communicating with one another. The vocalizations in the Sierra Sounds have been analyzed by experts who claim they don't match the sounds of any known animal. Some even suggest that the sounds are too complex to be produced by animals like bears, and that they may indicate the presence of a highly intelligent creature, perhaps even the Yeti itself. If these sounds are from the Yeti, it could be evidence that these creatures are not just large animals. They might be highly intelligent beings that live among us, hiding in plain sight. And if the Yeti can produce such sophisticated sounds, it also raises the question, could they be capable of other abilities? Could they be manipulating their environment, creating illusions to remain unseen, or using other forms of communication that we don't fully understand? Now, the big question remains, what exactly is the Yeti of the Pacific Northwest? There are many theories, and each one offers a fascinating glimpse into the possibilities of what this creature could be. One of the most intriguing theories is that the Yeti is not an animal at all, but a spiritual being. Indigenous tribes in the Pacific Northwest have long spoken of forest spirits or guardian spirits, beings that protect the land from harm, creatures that have a connection to the earth that humans cannot fully comprehend. Some of these stories describe beings that are large, humanoid in form, and covered in fur, much like the Yeti. Could it be that the Yeti is a spirit of the forest, a guardian that only reveals itself to those who are worthy or attuned to its presence? Could these creatures be part of the spiritual fabric of the land? And the reason we can't find them is because they exist in a different realm, one that overlaps with our world but is hidden from view. On the other hand, some researchers believe that the Yeti could be an ancient species, a remnant from a time when larger, more primitive creatures roamed the earth. This theory suggests that the Yeti is a distant cousin of ancient primates or early hominids, and that it has managed to survive in the remote wilderness of the Pacific Northwest, far from human contact. Some have even speculated that the Yeti could be a missing link, a species that has evolved alongside humanity but never fully integrated into modern society. Another theory suggests that the Yeti could be a shapeshifter, an entity that has the ability to change its form or disappear completely. This would explain why people rarely get a full, clear sighting of the creature. Perhaps it's not always visible to the human eye, and it can shift between forms to stay hidden from view. Could the Yeti have the ability to transform at will, becoming something else entirely when it needs to? Perhaps one of the most chilling aspects of the Pacific Northwest Yeti legend is the connection to unexplained disappearances. Over the years, there have been numerous reports of hikers, campers, and explorers vanishing without a trace in the very areas where the Yeti is said to roam. Some of these disappearances are later resolved, with people found miles from where they were last seen, disoriented and confused, unable to explain how they got there. Others remain completely unsolved, leaving behind only questions. Could these disappearances be linked to the Yeti? Is it possible that the creature is responsible for these vanishings, either directly or indirectly? Some people believe that the Yeti may be trying to keep people out of its territory, perhaps protecting the ancient lands from those who venture too close. Others suggest that the Yeti might be using its supernatural abilities to disorient and confuse people, leading them off the trail and into places where they can't find their way back. There's a particularly chilling story from the 1950s of a hiker who was last seen near the Cascade Mountains. His body was found weeks later, miles from where he was last reported. But the most puzzling part of the story was the condition of his belongings, which were untouched. His boots were perfectly lined up, but his pack and gear were scattered as if he had been suddenly overcome by something. Was it the Yeti, or was it something even stranger? In the end, the mystery of the Pacific Northwest Yeti is far from solved. With more sightings, strange sounds, and eerie disappearances, this creature continues to captivate our imagination. What exactly is it? A creature of flesh and blood? A spiritual guardian? A shapeshifter? The truth remains elusive. The only thing we can be sure of is this: the Yeti of the Pacific Northwest is out there, hiding in the mist, waiting for the next curious adventurer to uncover its secrets. But until that happens, it will remain one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in the world. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we'll unlock more incredible, unsolved mysteries. Thanks for joining me on this wild journey into the unknown. And remember, sometimes the most intriguing questions are the ones that don't have answers.